Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Bob.
I'm Spencer.
I'm Mike.
And this is a Board Game Rundown, and today we're going to talk about Seers catalog.
Not
from
that one.
Bezier Games. In this, we are the village seer from your game of werewolf, and we're whittling down all the items we want to buy in that Seers catalog to only get the essentials. And that is represented by the hand shedding game that we're going to play and score. This plays from 2 to 5 players, and it's pretty short. I guess, half an hour? I didn't look at the exact
30
time.
minutes. It took about a half hour.
30 minutes. You play 4 rounds, and what's going to end the round is when one of the seers, one of the players, runs out of cards. When they run out of cards, the round ends immediately, and you go right to scoring. Scoring is pretty straightforward. If you have fewer than 6 cards in your hand, you're in the bonus. So you'll look at the lowest numbered card in your hand, including the artifacts. Most of them all count as 0. And then you will score that card, and then you will minus points for each card in your hand total. So if the last card that I had in my hand was a 13, and that was the only card, I'd get 12 points. Because I'd get 13 points minus 1 for having this in my hand. Give me 12. The person who goes out gets 0 points, but that's not always bad because scores will go into the negatives. So how do we get rid of the cards in your hand? Well, that's a really good question, Tim. I'm glad I asked it. So what's going to happen is everybody's going to start with 1 wild card, 2 artifacts, and then 12 of these suited and numbered cards in your hand. The cards run from 2 to 13, or is it 1 to 13? I think it's
2 to 13.
2 to 13. I got it. And then there's basically, you're going to be playing what they call a meld. I did not know what a meld was going into this. Apparently it's a thing if you play rummy or pinochle.
Yes.
Or as Bob calls it, Pinocchio.
Pinocchio.
And so what you're doing is one of the 3 melds you can play is a single card meld. So if I play a 3, Mike can then play a 4 or higher to stay in. If you are in the bonus round, you may not pass if you have an option to play a card or the ability to play a card.
Right.
As long as you've got 6 or more, you can pass because maybe you want to preserve some of your runs for later.
Runs, yeah.
Artifacts, there's a whole catalog that explains the artifacts, which will kind of get into like some of the nuance and the timing of them. So they could affect when you play those cards, but they do count as part of your hand and can be added to melds most of the time. Another meld is a pair. So any 2 matching numbers, right? So for Mike to stay in, he can't play 3 of a kind. He still needs to play 2 of a kind, but it needs to be a higher value. So any suited or not suited, but any grouping of the same number. I mean, if you have 4 of the same number, you could plop them all down, and then everybody's got to have 4 of a kind to then beat that. And then the last meld is a suited run. So it has to all be the same suit and in numerical order. Obviously, Mike threw in a wild card in this example, so you can just see it. So it would make it a run of 4. Also, since it goes up to 13, is basically impossible to beat unless there's an artifact that can break that.
Yeah,
that run. And that's what's going to happen. We're going to go around, and then whoever obviously wins the trick will lead the next hand. And you go until somebody runs out. There is an artifact that will always be in play called Go First. So the seer who has that at the beginning of their hand will reveal that they have it, and they get to go first. You play 4 rounds, total up your scores, and hopefully you're in the positive. That's basically how you play Seers catalog.
Yeah.
Spencer.
Yeah.
What are some of your thoughts on Seers catalog?
Well, I think the artifacts are what make this game, because otherwise you're doing melds, or I like to think of them as tricks. They're very similar, but the artifacts really just change everything up. We kept having to pass around a little artifact book. I'm sure after several plays, you're just going to know how they all work, but you really got to pay attention to the details.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah.
It would not have won you the game. I can tell you that.
No?
No. You had 3 points.
How many points did you have?
What did I have?
7.
I had 7.
Yeah, but you had like 10 cards in your hands. So that would have been
Spencer
minus
had
10.
20 something.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But at least it would have beat you. And that's a win.
It's true. Yeah,
I did have higher value cards though, so I might have
Sure, but
gotten,
you weren't in the bonus.
I wasn't
though.
in the bonus.
They were going to be all negative.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the cards, the artifact cards, you can play more than one at a time, and like sometimes it's the timing that really, really matters.
Yes.
In the first round that I played, I messed up every artifact I had. It was so
You did,
dumb.
and then he still won.
I still won, just because I got lucky. But I think the artifacts are what really make this game interesting. I also like that there's no Trump suit. I've always hated Trump suits, so that makes it a little more appealing to me than other similar games.
Sure.
Mike.
This game goes against all of the traditional standards I've come to expect in card shedding games. And I really like that because of that. It makes this game very unique to any other card shedding game I've played. I screwed up a lot. I played terribly because I was trying to play this game like a card shedding game. I was trying to get rid of my hand.
So is Bob.
Yeah,
but
that's why I kept getting 0, 0,
Not
0.
always how you win this game. You may
not
want
all.
to do that if other players have a bunch of cards in their hand, and then
Right.
you're forcing them to score negative points.
On the last round, I had 2 10s and an 11, and he played a single, and I could have played the 11, but I'm like, if I get rid of that 10, I no longer have a pair. Next thing you did was a pair.
Yeah, really what you're trying to do is hang on to 1 or 2 cards and have your highest cards in your hand. And I just have not seen a game do that quite like this. Plus, all of these artifacts that just make it very unique. I found this pretty fascinating because of how much different it is than any card shedding game I've played.
Bobby.
Yeah, very similar to what Mike said. It is a very unique twist on it because, like, I played a lot of like hand shedding types of games, and so I thought I was doing really good. First 2 rounds, got rid of all my cards. I'm like, sweet. And then Spencer and Tim were like, well, I have 1 or 2 cards left, and they're 13, so it's gonna be 13 minus 2. I get 11 points. I was like, wait a minute, I went out. Why are you getting way more points than I am? So there's just that.
Because you went out, loser.
There's that middle ground you're trying to walk to where you're getting to where you're flipping your token over and you're in the bonus. But then you want to make sure you're keeping some higher cards and not your artifacts. You want to use and play those because those count as zeros. And if you're stuck with one of those at the end of the round, that'll be your lowest card, which is 0, and then -1 for each of the cards in your hand.
There is
So-
one artifact that counts as 5 points, but
Yeah.
it's very specific
Sure.
on the
Yeah,
card.
it is-
Hey, this is 5 points.
That's fair. But yeah, for the most part, though, that's kind of what you're heading towards. And so, and they hammer that point home. They're talking about the artifacts. There's so many of them, and they're all just different and do different effects and can affect the game. Like add a half to something, add an extra card, play again right away, give the lead away, but you get to discard one of your crappy cards. Like there's a lot going on there, so you got to make sure you pay attention to that timing. But it's a very unique take on that hand shedding, where it's not just pure hand shedding. It's hand shedding to a point, and then you kind of want to back off a little bit, unless you're going to stick everybody else with a bunch of cards, and then you go ahead and you go out. And yeah, pay attention to your artifact cards and the timing on them, because that'll get you. So
It sure will.
and just on a side note, the suits are color based. I had no problem with the colors.
There you go.
There's that. That's a good thing. There's a light blue and a dark blue, but they're very. I mean, I could tell you what color it is, but I could tell you they're different. So that's
all that matters,
That's
right?
all that matters.
Because
So-
the colors really don't matter other than that.
yeah,
right?
I mean, like, is this like an orange, like a green?
That's a green.
There. Okay, fine. So, but I can tell it's different than the yellow, and I can tell it's different than the blue, and whatever color that could
That's
be.
a purpley red
There you go.
kind of color.
If you say so.
No, but that's good. That's
good.
super important.
It is very important.
Because otherwise, a game like this would be unplayable for you without
Correct.
modification.
Without modding the cards.
Right.
Which I'm not above.
Yeah, so sometimes, because I'm a dummy, when a game that feels like it's a trick taker doesn't play like a trick taker, it confuses me, and I play it very badly. And that's a me problem, not a fault of the game. But this game, for whatever reason, made sense to me. Like, for whatever reason, I could wrap my pea-sized brain around it and really understand it.
Insulting the peas.
Right? Well, this game did a lot of things like really well, and I really appreciated that. I really love the idea of like, well, you don't need to win all the tricks, because sometimes you're watching people and you're like, man, I can't even
Yeah.
do anything, and you're not really falling behind. You just need to be able to get in a position where you can still get rid of some of those cards you can get in the bonus.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say, like, when you're winning a trick, you're not taking those cards and counting tricks at the end. They're just
Right.
like, that's just going to give you the lead next time. Because,
Right.
like, those cards, once they're done with that round of playing cards, they're all just going to get discarded anyway. And so, yeah, like, a lot of times people say take a trick, people think, like, okay, I won that trick. Okay, now I'm going to go again. Well, you don't get to keep those cards or anything.
Right, and it's I use that terminology just because I'm
Sure.
familiar with
Yeah,
other cards, but like you don't take a trick and like scout.
Right, and I compared this to like a cross between like Scout and and Pinochle. I almost said Pinocchio again because you said that.
Incepted ya.
Yeah, because it is very similar, except you can rearrange your hand, which is nice.
Yeah, and I will say that also the theme of this game is delightful. I really enjoyed it. The cards are awesome. Let me just
Everyone's
say,
unique.
Unique art on the
Yeah.
cards. There's even an Ultimate Werewolf card right here. That's number 13. Of course, they made it their highest value
course.
card. And
What
so
else would you
just there
possibly
for
want?
Mike. But there's fun little flavor text on all the cards.
Yep.
Not needed, but I appreciate the touch. It gives a fun little vibe, and while you're waiting for somebody to figure out what they're doing, if you're bored, you can check
Read
out
your cards.
Check out some of your cards. But again, all the unique art. I love the style, the vibe of this. Spencer's right. The artifacts are awesome, and they're really powerful. They do lots of things, and not always immediately obviously useful. But if you can build
Pay
your hand
attention.
around it, pay
Yeah.
attention to it. They're gonna come up. There's gonna come a time where that's a nice thing you can
Right.
do that's going to swing stuff in your direction.
Yeah, other than misplaying mine, I had at the end there. Every artifact card I had was useful in some way or another.
Yeah. And I also love it. I love games where you don't want to be the first one. You want to be second or maybe barely third, right? Because then, like, that's also really cool because if you can get into the bonus and you've been shedding your lower value cards, man, you're in a good spot.
Yeah.
You're in a good spot to get a good chunk of points, and there's only 4 rounds. So, I mean, you could very easily finish in the negative. But yeah, man, I had a really good time with this. I was a little worried at first because I'm like, man, I don't know what a meld is. This seems hard because this isn't like
a word I don't
this
know.
isn't like Spades.
Yeah.
You know, I've never played Pinocchio. I've only seen the movie. So, but there are no
Not gonna
strings
let
on
that
me.
joke die.
I did
You're
fine.
a real boy, Tim.
I'm a real something. So anyways, I guess we should rate this game. Mike, how do we rate games at the Board Game Rundown?
We score them,
Oh,
but on a scale from 1 to 10. And then we average them all together and give you a rundown score that we provide on BGG or Discord.
one question.
Yes.
Are 0.5s allowed?
0.5s are allowed.
Oh!
Yes.
Well, that
This
changes
just
everything.
gets better.
Hold on.
and
Doesn't
really
that
better.
just make it
Recalculate.
between 1 and 20?
Better. All right, Mr.
S
Hooper.
tier. Oh, sorry.
Let's rate games we haven't played.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Hooper. What
Yeah.
do you give Seers catalog?
This was a fun one for me. I would play this again, definitely. I would even reach for it. It's a 7.5 for me.
Spencer.
So one of the things I don't like about a lot of those trick-taking type games is having to predict how many you're going to get. And
Oh,
this one
right.
doesn't have that.
Nope.
It kind of emulates that by making you not want to be first. And I really like that. So because of that, I am bumping this up to a 7.
Spencer doesn't typically like trick-taking games, so I'm excited to see his score from this. I think if you go into this and expect it to be like a typical card-shedding game or trick-taking game, you're going to be blindsided completely,
100%.
and you're going to lose. Okay,
Maybe that's why I did well, because I suck at actual trick-taking games.
and I think what again this stands out because of how unique it is. Like, I played terribly, but you know what I want to do? Re-rack and try to do better. This is one of those games where I like what's going on enough. The fact that I played horribly is just more motivation to keep playing this, figure out the nuances, when these artifacts need to be played, and get better at this, because this is so unique to any trick-taking or card-shedding game I've seen. And Bezier is really starting to lean into these unique takes on trick-taking and card-shedding, and I think this is a viable entry into that direction that they're going. This is an 8 for me.
Yeah, I'm shocked because I like this the most out of all of us. I was skeptical because like I said, when I go to play a game that's like euchre or spades, which I love playing spades over even euchre and some other trick-taking style games, usually I go into something like this and I'm bad at it, and I can't. I understand the rules, but I can't get my brain to like play the cards the right way to even like feel like I'm doing anything. Not the case here. I really had a good time, even on like, because even there was in the last round, I had a ton of cards towards the end, and I'm like, I've got to find a way to get rid of these. Now, thankfully, Bob misplayed, and that was good for me. But I was able to really start to kind of make a run and get rid of a bunch of cards towards the end, which made it fun, right? I'm like, oh, I'm still alive. Oh, I'm still okay. So you need this, and there's that tension, right, of how it's going to come around and what's led. And yeah, some rounds you're like, I'm out.
And I'm depending on you doing that because I'm like, I can't get any of these.
Right.
I'm just going to pass.
Right. And I appreciated the strategy of it, and as I started to see it, and it clicked even more. So this is an 8.5. I really enjoyed this game quite a bit. I will be reaching for this. I want to own this game. I want to play this game with other people. Like, it's a small box. You could throw this in your fanny pack and walk around with it and get it played at a convention or at a meetup or a family event, because it is very accessible, and the theme and the style of it is quirky and super fun, unlike another famous hand shedding game with a theme that I absolutely loathe because it is just tacked on and boring.
Well,
Scout. He's talking about.
if you take all of our scores and we add them together, that's 7.8. That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
It is.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. I'm glad you guys did too. I forgot that Spencer doesn't love trick-taking games. Usually it's like Dan is the one, and it's like, oh no, here's a trick-taking game.
Yeah.
Dan's here.
Yeah.
Womp womp. But I'm glad this one kind of won you over a little bit.
I like this one a lot better than the others.
But anybody else have any final thoughts on this?
Bezier did provide this game for us to review, but they will be selling it for the first time at their Gen Con booth. So go see them, pick up a copy.
Yeah, that's Gen Con 2024 for those of you in the future.
And
Just in case. I mean, they'll probably be selling it at the 2025 booth.
I would imagine.
And if you see this before Gen Con 2024, we're also there at booth number 1931, and I'll be selling my book there. And
Ooh.
also at SpencerHickson.com.
Well done, Spencer.
Way to work it in.
Yeah, naturally too, just unforced.
Do you have any catalogs?
Just Seers
Just the
catalog.
Seers.
Oh, okay, good
Look
enough.
at that.
I'll
Look
take
at that.
it.
Teeing them up. We're just knocking
Well,
them
I
out.
saw that one coming.
Yeah, you did. Because he's a seer. Get it? Bob, he saw it.
Facepalm, Bob.
Did
Yeah.
you see it? He saw it.
Yeah.
He saw it.
Yeah.
Why'd you see it?
Because I'm a prognosticator.
Oh.
Procrastinator.
Yeah.
Oh, that too. Don't tell anybody.
Well, you guys get in your
tell
Seers
tomorrow.
catalog and order this game.
I saw myself
Take this game, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Excuse me.
For the board game rundown, I've been Tim.
Bob.
Spencer.
Mike.
Thanks for watching.
If you can say the title's only 3 words.